What's up, guys? It's Casey Zolman, aka the fourth Sanderson sister, coming at you with another react video. Today, we're doing something a little bit different. We are... and heading back 8 years in the past. We're going back 8 whole years. Oh god, I was 21 when this came out. I am actually gonna react to and redo, in a way, one of my old videos on this channel. My Sarah Sanderson theory, which is the most popular thing on my channel. The thing is, it's 8 years old. This was before Hocus Pocus 2, and we got a lot of new information. This theory bothers me in a way now. Like, back then it was fine. Now we have new information, and I kind of just wanted to go back, see if I still agreed with this, and then kind of fix it along the way, in case there were any plot holes. So, I have not watched this since we filmed it and it came out, and I'll tell you about some of the changes that have happened since this came out, and I don't know, I just really wanted to redo this theory, but I didn't want to, like, rewrite it, so I think this is the best way to do it now. So, here we go. Let's watch the Sarah Sanderson theory. First big change, I wasn't even calling myself the fourth Sanderson sister yet. I was still Bellatrix Rock 16, if you can believe that. And I did not edit this. My ex-boyfriend did.
What's up? It's Casey Zogelman, aka Bellatrix Rock 16 here, with my very first fan theory video. With Halloween just around the corner, I thought it would be a great idea and a lot of fun to discuss probably the most iconic Halloween movie in history. You guys know the one I'm talking about. Hocus Pocus. Yes, that cult.
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna pause it along the way. God, that audio was crap. I'm so glad I've invested in a microphone now, so you can actually hear me without the echo going on in the background. And my Hocus Pocus art has gotten a lot better over the years. There's a lot more stuff. My god, my dresser used to be clean. Now I've got pops stacked up to the ceiling. I got Pokeballs all over it. I got Hocus Pocus collectibles. There are photos of me and Kathy and Jimmy from, cons. There's plenty of fan art behind me, and regular art, and posters that I've gotten off Etsy and different places. Man. And this was my very first Hocus Pocus video, and kind of what set the tone for my brand.
Classic that we all know and love and desperately want a sequel to, Disney. And
They finally heard us, guys! They finally heard us for that one! We finally got a sequel 8 years after this video came out.
Now, I bet you guys are wondering about the title of this video. Sarah Sanderson, the strongest of the Sanderson sisters? Crazy, right? Well,
no, what's crazy...
maybe not after you guys watch this video.
No, what's crazy is the fact that I wasn't wearing glasses. That's how long ago this was. This was before I needed glasses.
Well, maybe not after you guys watch this video. Show of hands. If I asked you guys right now who the strongest of the Sanderson sisters is, I'll bet a vast majority of you immediately say Winifred. True. She is pretty powerful with her lightning and her spell book, but is she really the strongest?
I mean, yes and no. Yes and no past me. She definitely was hiding things, but it was more internal things than it was her power. She was very powerful, and technically, yes, the strongest, but that was also because she kind of kept the other two behind her, so I still do kind of agree with that point. Another thing I would have changed about this video, we're removing the background music, because my god, were we just asking to be copyrighted? What the heck? What the heck? Past me and ex-boyfriend, what were y'all thinking?
Or just making everyone believe she is. Now, before I go any further, I adore Bette Midler, and Winifred has to be one of my favorite fictional characters ever. But this is a theory video.
So here's the thing. I said she was probably one of my favorite fictional characters in history back then. Yes and no. Back then, I don't think I had nearly as much respect for Winifred as I do now, especially post Hocus Pocus 2, because I didn't think she was that deep of a character back then. I was just like, oh, she's just mean. She's just mean and she's funny. That's all it is. That's her whole shtick. She's evil. And now, like, 8 years later, sequels come out, and it's like, oh, wow, no, she's very deep. So actually, now I can say with certainty, she is one of my favorite fictional characters in history because she just has so many layers to her, and it's great.
Anyone else's opinions but my own. It's okay to disagree. I love Winifred, as do many fans, but I probably love Sarah just as much.
You loved her
there's
more.
There's more to her than we actually see, and that's pretty much where my theory comes into play. And if you're set on Winifred being the strongest of the Sanderson sisters, that's okay. But I am going to be expressing some pretty strong opinions of my own. If you feel the need to dispute me on any of the things I lay out in this video, please leave a comment down below and I'll try to get to you. Okay, now I just want to address something really fast. Hey trolls, if you're gonna be butthurt about something in this video, please exit now, because
oh lord. That was like editing Casey before editing Casey even existed. She just had to come back and say that piece about the trolls. But the thing is, it's gotten worse over the years, but it was never a problem on this channel. We've never really had, well, that's not true. We've had a couple, but I took care of them. Not like that you know of. So God, it's like that was the first appearance of editing Casey, even though she didn't edit this video. That's kind of funny.
I'm going to be kind about it. Thank you. Now that you've all been warned, let us fly.
Let us fly.
Oh man, so one thing I'm gonna hate watching about this video is back whenever we put this out, is we had to alter the audio of the clips so we didn't get copyrighted. It's so much less yikes now, which is great. Also, I don't love the continuity here because you can tell it's been 2 different days because my hair's flatter in some of this.
As we all know, Sarah's power is hypnotic voice. She uses it to lure children to their deaths. But is this power only limited to children? Methinks not. Sarah could easily lure adults too. Sarah Sanderson is the strongest of the trio. Notice that Sarah never uses her powers around her sisters. They always leave or are apart from her when she uses her hypnotic voice. Could it be that her powers are so potent that they could affect her sisters? Sarah is never caught doing.
Here's the thing, I actually do still agree with that to a degree. I still agree with that point. It's a siren thing. Like, if she's using it, it's gonna be pretty strong. And we know from the second one that was her only job. And honestly, I think that might be a big reason it was her only job, is because they were like, okay, we know this is gonna be a little dangerous. So, Sarah, you can only do this right now. Because if you do it around us, we could get affected. And again, we don't know how they were growing up now that we know that they were, like, discovering their powers and doing stuff. As they were growing up, they were under the tutelage of Mother. They may have had to take some precautions against this little gift that Sarah had. So, I mean, I do still think that's kind of on track. Her power was definitely the most dangerous if she didn't control it. So, for sure, I'm still in agreement with that part. I do think it would have affected her sisters, because we know they're not impenetrable to each other's powers, as proved later in Hocus Pocus 2 when Sarah zaps Winnie. Which I'm going to touch on that later, I'm sure. That's inevitable that that's going to come up now that that came out. So I think, yes, it still could have affected them. I definitely think it could affect other non-magical adults still. I do still think that Sarah's siren song could still affect other adults, especially men, or whoever she's going after. So, yes, past me, I think you still got that right.
Sarah is never caught doing much of the actual dirty work. She never uses the spellbook by herself. Even Mary gets a little more leeway because she helps Winifred so much. Sarah does not get such a privilege other than helping finish the potion. Maybe it's because Winifred doesn't want her educated beyond her hypnotic voice, due to the fact that Sarah could get it in her head to use her powers on her own sisters and put them under her own spells. Sarah could very easily manipulate them into doing anything and everything she could ever want done if she was just allowed to learn more. And had more than air beneath the hair. But we'll get there.
Well, here's the thing. So, now that we know how strong of a family unit the Sanderson sisters are, I really don't think Sarah would ever get it in her head to, like, purposefully manipulate her sisters. She would not be a puppet master for any reason unless they pushed her to it. I think the thing that could push her to it would have been Billy, but at the same time, at that point, they had been together for so many years. They've been through a lot of traumatic experiences together. She loves her sisters dearly. If she didn't, she probably would have flipped on Winifred when she got her powers supercharged in Hocus Pocus 2. If she didn't love them as much as she did, she stayed with them because she cares deeply about Winifred and about Mary and about their family unit and everything. So I don't think, well, she could, yes, past me, she could have done that if she wanted to. I don't think it's for lack of education at this point, because it seems like all of them did kind of learn things at the same pace. Maybe Winifred just picked up more of a knack for it than the others did. So I think that's a possibility, but Sarah would never purposefully manipulate her sisters because she does love them so much, even though, yes, they aren't always kind to her. But that's what trauma bonding is all about, everybody. Trauma bonding is forever. It's forever. You never, ever get over it. So, I don't know, man. I don't think she would have ever purposely manipulated her sisters. But I do think she could have if she got it in her head that she wanted to. She just never wanted to.
Sarah Sanderson could and very well may be the most powerful Sanderson sister, despite her seeming like the dumbest. Let me break this down for you so hopefully you can understand why I think this theory could in fact be true. First off, and most importantly,
this
Sarah
music
is
is
more
so
or less
distracting. I'm so glad I didn't do that after
this. And it can't
this.
be used on more than just children. During the I Put a Spell on You song, it was obviously a spell cast by all three. But was it Sarah's voice that actually provided the big power? Winifred has a gift for spells, and is a bit of an attention hog, so of course that has a big impact. But Sarah is the siren, and without her added power, the spell may not have stuck.
I've got to disagree with that now. I have to disagree with that. That's one that they have to use in tandem. You're bewitching so many people at the exact same time. It's gonna take the full coven to pull something like that off. Yes, her hypnotic voice probably helps, but she wouldn't be able to do an entire crowd of full-grown adults by herself. Mary and Winnie absolutely had to be there to help. It's definitely a power of three thing. They had to do it together for it to work. So while I think, yes, that's a good point that I made back then, I don't think that as much now. Simply because, especially after Hocus Pocus 2, we know they work together for a lot of spells like that. The emphasis on coven, the emphasis on togetherness and sisterhood, they have to work together. The power of three is what really made that spell work, not just Sarah. Not to discredit Sarah in any way, shape, form, or fashion, but she did not take the lead. So I have to disagree, past me.
Also notice that her sisters are never present whenever she uses her hypnotic voice. The one time she began singing in front of them, Winifred rather quickly slapped a hand over her mouth to keep her from invoking her power any further. Could it be due to the fact that Sarah's powers could affect Winifred and Mary?
Now, I do still think that is a good point. She does silence Sarah very quickly when they're trying to get to Danny. Part of that, I think, is because they were trying to be inconspicuous in a way. They're not. They're the most conspicuous people ever, but I do think that could still be a thing. It's like, hey, don't press that button right now. We're still here. The only time you get to use that was when we're not here, so we don't accidentally fall into your spell. And she's like, oh yeah, right, I forgot. So it's like, right. So. I mean, yeah, I do still think that's a thing, but I think some of it was also, please shut up, we're trying to be inconspicuous while they're being so conspicuous it's painful. So yeah.
Just because they're witches doesn't mean that they can't be affected. Now, my reasoning
That's
as to why they
true.
weren't affected during the I Put a Spell on You song is because all three were working in harmony. Combined powers, instead of standalone magic, could, and probably did, defend them from Sarah's power. However, if acted on separately, I believe they could be affected just like anyone else. Now, why this is not a constant threat is because Sarah's song is directed towards children. But magic is not only limited to one spell. If Sarah tried to adjust her song, she could have enslaved all of humanity if she wanted to do it.
I still agree with that. I do agree with that. When they're working together for the song, The Power of Three, it takes all three of them, so they wouldn't be affected. But if she is using it on her own, they have to be careful for the fallout. They have to watch out, or they're going to get put under the spell, and Sarah's going to be like, crap! I didn't mean to do that! Try to wake them up, slap them across the face a couple of times, be like, sorry about that! So that I do think is true. I definitely think she has the potential to enslave people higher up than just kids. So yes, the reason that other witches can still be affected by Sarah's magic is pretty simple, because we saw that even with Magicae Maxima, Winifred can still be affected by other spells. She can be affected by Becca's magic. She can be hurt by it. She can still feel the effects of other spells. It just essentially... I did a whole video theory on the Magicae Maxima and what exactly it is, so go watch it by clicking on this thing right here, and that'll explain it. So the short version is, you're still susceptible to magic. You're still susceptible to magic just like any other person. There is nothing that can change that. You probably are going to have a little more endurance, but unless you build up a spell tolerance or you use some form of protection spell over yourself, you are definitely still going to be in danger of being put under Sarah's power if you're not paying attention, or she's not paying attention, which is more likely. So it's probably safe to say that yes, Mary and Winifred could still be affected because they can still be affected by other people's magic.
Including her sisters, if she adjusted her spell enough. Sarah is like a walking imperious curse just waiting for an unwilling victim, which, if not under constant supervision, could be her own sisters. Now, on to point number 2. I'm sure you guys by now are going, the reason Winifred keeps Sarah in check all the time is because of Billy. That's true. They did have an affair, but we don't know who came onto who in that situation.
Whew, did we get a little bit more information on Billy and Sarah and Winnie whenever Hocus Pocus 2 came out. I'm very curious to see how before I even dive into this section, I'm curious to see how that's going to change what I say here, specifically because we know Winifred and Billy weren't actually an item. She just kissed him once. They kissed in the graveyard, and they had no further relationship with that. We're still kind of in the dark on what Sarah and Billy's relationship is, but it's very clear that they had an affair because Sarah blatantly says that they were lovers in Hocus Pocus 2, and he recognizes her as somebody that he cares about because he's always smiling at her. He's never really mad at her. He's more mad at Winifred for everything. So I'm very curious to see how this section is going to change now that we know what we know from Hocus Pocus 2.
Billy caused an incredible rift between Winifred and Sarah because, as he was courting Winifred, he was sleeping with Sarah. Love triangle,
He
guys.
was. Except there wasn't a love triangle, it was all in Winnie's head.
Everyone in the fandom, including myself until recently, believes that Sarah would be the one to come on to Billy because she's basically a siren. However, we don't know that that's true. Billy could have just as easily become smitten with Sarah and seduced her. Being the younger and most naive sister, Sarah fell for him. And whenever he rises from the grave, notice that when she greets him, he makes a happy little grunt, like moaning noise that means he's happy to see her. You can almost make out in his grunt the name Sarah. And he has a smile on his face, and his eyes look rather happy. Well, as much as a dead guy whose mouth has been sewn shut can smile.
Whew, that was painfully scripted. God, that was painfully scripted. Not that I don't script a lot of my videos, but that just did not sound natural. Oh, man. But, yes, those points still stand. I do think it's very, very true that Sarah and Billy were probably more of a thing. Billy probably did come on to Sarah, but it may not be like a hitting on her kind of thing. I feel like they might have bonded over a few things first and then started a relationship, while Winifred still thought that they were in a relationship in her head, because he wasn't a dirty cheater. He wasn't even a cheater. He wasn't, much less a dirty cheater. So I definitely think there was a real relationship there, but we still don't know. So there you go.
Billy comes into play here for two reasons. One, Winifred was the jealous type and never let Sarah forget what happened. And two, emotion plays a huge part in magic.
It does.
Notice, anytime Sarah is told not to play with a boy, her face turns very solemn and kind of fearful. Flashbacks to Billy's death could easily jump into Sarah's mind when Winifred tells her not to play with boys. When Sarah tells the driver that he may hate her in the morning, she could have been giving him a warning, and then Winifred backed it up whenever she got off the bus.
Yeah, possibly. Because let's be honest with ourselves. Sarah probably saw it happen. She probably saw it happen. If she didn't, Winifred told her it happened, and she was devastated and heartbroken. So she was probably, I agree with Past Me, she was probably trying to give him a heads up that, hey, don't get involved with me. It's a bad thing. As much as I would like that. So yeah, I'll give Past Me that one.
Also, Sarah's powers could have grown through the love and affection she was feeling with Billy, and then doubled from the pain of his loss and hate from her sister. But why stay?
I agree with the whole emotions impacting magic thing. That's basically the plot of Hocus Pocus 2, because as soon as Winifred starts feeling threatened by Trask, those trauma memories come back. She does everything in her power that she can to make herself even stronger so she can defend her and her sisters against anything that could hurt them, and make Trask and his descendants pay for what they did to them in the past. Emotions definitely drive magic, especially dark magic, which is what the three of them practice.
Around the sister who killed the man you were falling for. Simple. Family loyalty, guilt, and probably the fact that if she ran off, Winifred and Mary would have found her and done some much nastier things to her than just smacking her around every once in a while.
I gotta disagree with that one. Again, the family unit, we know now that they are all very tight. They love each other very much. The reason Sarah stayed is because she loves her sisters, and she felt, I definitely think guilt probably played into it some too. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot that Winifred liked him, etc., etc. But then over the years, she's grown a little more bitter over that, and it's like, listen, shut up about that. He loved me, not you. Get over it. But she still loves Winnie and Mary, and I don't think Winnie and Mary would ever actually intentionally do some bad things to her like that, unless it was like dire.
Negative emotions fuel dark magic far more than positive ones do. And by staying, Sarah may have earned an opportunity to get back some of her trust and loyalty from her sister, and maybe by playing dumb, set up an opportunity for revenge.
Okay, so that was actually a pretty good foreshadowing moment there, because even though it's not canon, the spellbook, we find out that Sarah was kind of plotting, scheming, like, oh, so this emerald flame candle, you say, can take a witch's powers away. Well, my sister just so happened to kill my boyfriend because she got jealous and stuff. I definitely think that point stands of she stayed, negative emotions fueled her magic, fueled her need for revenge. She was definitely going to try to shank Winnie at some point. But again, spellbook's not canon, so we don't know. But the long and the short of it is, yes, negative emotions fuel dark magic.
She could have pulled it off, too, because as we can see in the movie, she is a lot more observant than the other two. Alright, so point number 3 is Sarah was smarter, more observant, and a lot stronger than we gave her credit for. I mean, we noticed throughout the movie that Winnie has trouble being patient, but Sarah is one of the most patient people within the story. After watching it again, I noticed that Sarah is typically the sister who fights next to Winifred. The final showdown was Winifred versus Max, Danny, and Billy, and Sarah went after Allison. So where was Mary during all of this? Sarah is the sister who steps up to fight next to Winifred because
a mystery that haunts me to this day. Where did she go? Was she just watching on the sidelines? Just being like, get him! Got it! You can do this! I believe in you! I should probably be helping, but I don't know how effective I'm gonna be. Because Winnie's got lightning. Sarah clearly was ready to yeet Allison across the graveyard if she got a hold of her. I don't know that Mary could have done much. She was just... wreck 'em, you get that ball and really fight! Kind of thing. So... I don't know. She's just somewhere. She got lost. She got lost. That's what I'm going to say. She took a wrong turn at Albuquerque. I don't know. Don't know where she was. But we all know that Sarah does not shy away from a scrap, especially after Hocus Pocus 2. She was about ready to smack down with Winifred in the middle of the woods. She was like, all right. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's get it on! Just, oh man. So, yeah, she's a scrapper.
Who steps up to fight next to Winifred because she knows she has the power to do it. However, when Sarah tries to show Winifred exactly what she can do and how much she has learned, I guess, over the course of her 300-year lifespan? She is always shut down immediately.
This is true.
Sarah could have saved all 3 of the sisters in one single moment. Do you guys know the one I'm talking about?
Yes, you do!
Boil a boil and a dead man's nose.
Dead man's toes!
Did you catch that?
Oh my god, this was the birth of the running gag. This was the birth of the running gag. This was the first time I noticed it and picked it out, and I have not let it die ever since. Because that scene, that freaking scene, all these 8 years later, drives me bananas. Drives me bananas. And so does the other one.
Let's look at it one more time.
Dead man's toes!
Here at that time, I sure did, and I hope you guys did too. Sarah remembered the last ingredient of the potion because of her little song and dance she was doing 300 years earlier. Idiotic dance, Winnie? I don't think so! Now, why did she get shut down again? Back to the jealous thing, I believe. Why would Winifred want anyone to be right but her? Whenever she tells Mary she's right, she bursts into tears and runs screaming out of the room, but Mary just seems so proud of herself for being right.
This is true.
Sarah's observation from 300 years prior could have saved them all in that one instant if she had just been listened to.
Okay, I have to disagree with this point a little bit. Just a touch. Not a lot, just on the grounds of she remembered that ingredient, but that was definitely not all the ingredients that they needed. She said oil of boil and a dead man's toe. You still had to find the newt saliva, the blood of the owl, and all this, and the pull a hair from her head, and all this stuff. So there was more. She couldn't have saved them in that instant. She could have, however, saved them later. In the scene that really makes me just beat my head against a wall every time I watch it, because I'm like, Winnie, stop, Winnie, don't. Winnie, you could win right here if you just listen to Sarah for 2 seconds, just please. But we fumbled the football, we fumbled the ball, and we did not cross the touchdown line, because we were greedy with the football, and we did not pass it to our teammate. But... even though our teammate had the right play. But here's the thing. She wasn't jealous of Sarah's intellect there. She was blinded by desperation. I can't believe I'm doing this 8 years later. I am, like, coming to Winnie's defense from past me, being like, you was a little harsh, honey. You were a little mean. So, Winnie was blinded in that moment. Especially after we saw everything from Hocus Pocus 2 that made us understand her a little bit more. She was scared. She knew they were on a deadline. She knew they were going to die. She knew she didn't want her sisters to go back to that misery. Hell. She didn't want them to go back there. She didn't want anything to happen to them. She wanted them to stay together. So she was like, tunnel vision. Tunnel vision. I can't hear anybody. I can't do anything. It's an anxiety attack, basically. Winifred had a panic attack. So that's more what was happening there. Not that she was jealous of Sarah having the right answer. She was just like, boom, I have to go in this direction. I cannot think any other way. There is no other option. She was just tunnel vision. So past me, you were a little harsh on Winnie there. However, I will allow you to make fun of her later if you brought up the second scene where Sarah was like, hey, this is what we should do. And Winifred said, no, I want to go get the kid.
Another time we notice her observation skills in action is in the alleyway. Winifred and Mary are basically doing their own thing because Mary's powers let her to smell food instead of children, which in her case are the same. Sarah, on the other hand, is looking over where the kids are hiding because she knows their rivals are close. And after the other two walk off, she sticks around and keeps looking. Only after being called for a second time by Winifred does Sarah actually leave. Once again, she was shut down before she could help. Now, I know those two details weren't in there.
I do not have anything to say there other than that is all correct. That is all correct. That sequence of events, yes, that is 100% correct.
A moment when she was smarter than we gave her credit for was when the potion was destroyed towards the end of the movie and they had only a little bit left.
God bless, I did bring it up.
Or ice, what a weirdo, as their victim. Logical thinking, right? Well, not according to Winifred, because she was mad, and because she was mad, it was the best idea to go get Danny, who was miles away at this point, which means more time had to be used of their little bitty lifespan, because that makes sense!
Oh, thank you for bringing that up past me. Yep, that's the part. That is the part where they fumbled so hard. Passed the ball to Sarah. She was in the end zone. She was heading to the touchdown line. And Winifred was like, nope, I can do it. But again, that goes back to the tunnel vision. She was blinded by rage. She was still desperate to stop everything. So, you know, her way or the highway in that moment.
So actually, it was Winifred who killed them all for being an idiot. And if they had just listened to Sarah, they would have lived. Sarah is truly the most ignored of the sisters.
Yeah.
And that actually leads me to point number 4, because after a while, that would bug you, wouldn't it? So point number 4 is resentment fueling Sarah's power. Just as righteous anger can fuel pain-inducing spells, resentment can do that too. Sarah is the lowest sister on the totem pole.
I agree.
Mary is Winifred's right-hand witch. Sarah's just kinda there.
You want to talk about them just kind of being there? My God. Go watch my, oh gosh, what was it? The first draft review of Hocus Pocus. Holy cow. Winifred was Freddy Krueger, and Mary and Sarah were Scooby-Doo villains. They had no purpose.
Sarah is the one that abuse often falls on when something goes wrong. She was pushed into the river without a second glance from Winifred or Mary. What the heck, girls? If that little display doesn't show how low she is in the ranking for best sister, I really don't know what does.
Yeah, that was still pretty screwed up, I'm not gonna lie. That's still pretty messed up. I mean, we knew they were tight and everything after 2, but, like, they literally did they thought it was a river, and they were about to throw Sarah in it to be like, yeah, that's water. So, I hope they were gonna pull her out. I would say they would pull her out. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt.
I'll elaborate on why I think that's even more significant later. After Winifred killed Billy, Sarah's first love, we can only assume, as we don't know their backstory. Disney! Prequel! Sorry, I had some resentment of my own caught in my throat.
Yeah, 8 years later, I'm still demanding a prequel. Even more so after the second movie came out when we saw them in their childhood. Yo, Disney, get on it! Get on it! We need a prequel.
A seed of resentment and possibly some righteous anger was planted inside our little blonde witch's heart. And after watching Mary get treated with more affection, well, what you can call affection coming from Winifred, caused more resentment for Sarah.
Man, past me was mean to Winnie. Past me was really mean to Winnie. She didn't need to come after her so hard. I at least do it a little bit nicer now. At least a little nicer. Jeez.
Notice in the first scene of the movie when Sarah has just returned from getting Emily that Mary tries to openly degrade her little sister's efforts in front of Winifred as she's helping her.
I noticed Sister Sarah isn't helping.
God, that audio.
Leave her be. She has done her job.
You're right, Emma.
All right.
Sarah also gave a little hiss towards her big sister Mary after Winifred drew Mary's attention back to their work when she told her that Sarah had already done what she needed to do. And if you notice, Sarah wasn't given anything else to do with that spell until the very end. She did, however, manage to sneak in a little bit of participation while her sister's back was turned. When she was dancing around, she spat into the cauldron. Pretty sure that wasn't supposed to be there. That also could have been a little statement of resentment like, hey guys, you're not letting me do anything? Well, I'm gonna screw up your potion a little bit.
I think that was just Sarah being Sarah. Looking back on that, I took that a little too literally. I think she was just being silly. That was Sarah being Sarah. They probably were like, why did you do that? She's like, I don't know. Just felt like it.
And Sarah again took the blame when she and Mary were messing about and Winifred yelled at him, but it wasn't her who started the toe fight, it was Mary! Secretly, I believe Sarah was very resentful of the...
Here's the thing, though. They did kind of, both of them participate in it. You can't punish one child and not the other one. Somebody who now works with kids. So, yeah.
Sisters. Mary may have treated Sarah with a little bit more dignity, but not as much as she really deserved. A big implication of this is during the final showdown. When Winifred called for help as she was about to fall off her broom, only one sister moved, and it wasn't Sarah. Sarah never rushed to help Winifred out during the battle, but she did go assist Mary, who we saw did treat her with just a touch more respect. I'm sensing some resentment here.
Okay, if I'm going to be honest, I have nothing to say there. I have nothing to say about that. That is still kind of, that could still be true. That could be true. Sarah could have kind of had that moment of she saw Billy on the ground and, like, maybe she could still be with him if something were to happen to Winnie. Just that intrusive thought. But then she saw Mary in danger, so she went to help her, and I think she probably thought Mary was in a little bit more immediate danger than Winifred, so...
So, why was Sarah only used to bring Emily back? Why not have her help out with the potion? Was she not trained to do those sort of spells? This leads me to my fifth and final point. Sarah's powers are far too dangerous to her sister's position of power to be trained in full, aka...
Winifred always was the jealous type.
I'm almost certain that when Sarah came into the family, there were big hopes of her being powerful. And after reading the novelization of the movie, we find out the fathers of just Winifred and Mary. We never hear anything about Sarah's father. She could have been made like Anakin Skywalker.
We know that's wrong now, thanks to Hocus Pocus 2. We now know who their dad was. He was an apothecary. He raised them. It sounds like he probably wasn't much on magic. He probably didn't know magic. I don't think he was a warlock. They never referred to him in any way, shape, or form as being magical. They were just odd. They were an odd family. They knew a little bit more about how nature can give remedies and stuff like that. Now we don't know who their moms were, and it's just like, what the heck? Can you guys pick a lane? Who birthed these three goofballs?
For all we know. No father, incredibly powerful. Every witch has their coming
For all we know,
so let's
that
say
is
when Sarah got her
untrue
powers,
now.
Winifred
She
was
couldn't
in
be Anakin
her
Skywalker.
late teens, maybe early 20s. So she could sense Sarah's power as a threat to her own. Let's say for the sake of this video that Sarah was around 11 or 12 whenever her powers showed up.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start knocking our ages here. For A little bit. Definitely think Winifred would have been in her late teens, early 20s when Sarah blossomed, because Sarah would have gotten hers at 16. We now know 16 is the number, as given to us by Hocus Pocus 2. So, yes, I think Winifred would have been sensing her power, but I think it would have been more of a blessed event than it would have been a, oh, she's gonna be so powerful, she's going to overthrow me. I don't think that's going to be the issue here anymore. I think I'm gonna have to remove that from my thought process, or past me's thought process. She probably would have been waiting and anticipating, and Mary would have been waiting and anticipating, and they'd be like, when are you gonna get your powers? Feels like Mark from Invincible. Just, it happens one day. Probably when they least expected it. So, like, I don't think it would have been a she threatened Winnie's position. They would have been very happy that Sarah finally got her magic.
So during Sarah's adolescence, Winifred could have easily manipulated her into thinking she is being trained when she really wasn't. Now, Mary, on the other hand, her powers were not very threatening. She had an incredible bloodhound sense of smell. Sarah being able to hypnotize people with her voice, however, a lot more threatening than, let's say, tracking people down with your schnoz.
Okay, that is true. I think Mary suffers from middle child syndrome. Her powers weren't that impressive. She's often the one who's kind of forgotten out of the three in real life, and it's just like, God dang, somebody give this woman her flowers. Please give her her flowers. She deserves better than this. But we now know that they would have been trained by Mother Witch. We know that Winifred wouldn't have been training them herself, depending on the timeline, because we don't know when Mother disappeared on them. We're not exactly sure when that took place. So again, a prequel would be really, really helpful to figure out when Mother disappeared. So I don't think Winnie would have been training her sisters. This whole thought process was off the fact that they were alone. So now that we know they weren't alone, null and void.
Winifred took Mary under her wing because her powers were not very threatening, and like a dog, she was trainable and obedient.
Now I do still agree with that
the Sanderson
part.
sisters' mother died maybe a couple years before Sarah got her powers, as again, we have no knowledge of their backstory. Seriously, guys, a prequel, a book, something, anything would be helpful here.
It's amazing that I've been harping on that for 8 years and we still ain't got Bupkis.
It would have been up to the other two sisters to raise and train Sarah. Winifred could have taught her very little in order to keep her from getting too powerful and too intelligent. Something to ponder. In the beginning of the movie, Sarah was not as ditzy. I'm not saying she wasn't ditzy. She wasn't as ditzy as she was in the rest of the film. Could it be the wiser with age thing coming in? That might be an added bonus for Winifred to keep them growing younger. Sarah's mind can never fully mature, and she can never realize how strong she really is.
What the heck is wrong with you, past me? What is wrong with you? Oh my god. Back then it was... That might have been an okay thought back then, but like, knowing what we know now, no. No, honey, no. No. Absolutely not.
Sarah got it in her head that her powers could put many people, including her own sisters, under her control. Who knows what could happen? And I'm positive that Winifred would not take a chance on someone being able to step up and make her lose her position of power.
Now, while I do kind of agree with that, I also disagree with it a little bit. Because, as we see at the end of Hocus Pocus 2, Sarah respects Winnie until she gets pushed too far or made fun of too far. And that's when our beloved scene happens, when she finally grows a backbone. Is like, hey now, I am amazing. Please stop putting me down. And I appreciated that so much out of the sequel. She's not afraid to stand up to Winifred, but she does respect her enough to know when she needs to help Winnie and Mary and not screw things up. They probably would have fought it out later, but in that moment, it was like, okay, we're on a time limit here, Sarah. Yeah. So, yeah. So she was like, yep, not the time. Later, but not the time. So, I think that's why she folded so quickly. There. But again, yes, I think she would have tried to get other people, but she would not have gone after her sisters. She loves them too much. They love her too much. That is very clear after Hocus Pocus 2. Hocus Pocus 2 definitely changes my view on a lot of the points from this
The Black
theory.
River thing I promised, Winifred chose to push Sarah. If Sarah drowned, that was one less threat to Winifred's power. Winifred's power was shooting lightning bolts out of her fingertips. Awesome. Sarah could have enslaved all
Alright, that
of
was funny.
humanity if she just executed the spell right. We have a clear winner here! Winifred's jealousy was not of Sarah's looks. She thought she was gorgeous. Her real jealousy was over Sarah's powers. She has no real love for her sisters.
Woof, we know. Past me. What was your issue? What was your issue with Winifred? Oh my god, you're so mean. You're so mean to her. That was unnecessary. Like, Jesus, she cares. Back then we didn't think she did, but oh my god, I can't believe those words ever came out of my mouth now that Hocus Pocus 2 has been out for 2 years, or almost 2 years. 3 years. Almost 3 years. Oh my god. It's almost a toddler. Sorry, I had a moment there. Dang, girl, leave Winnie alone. You were mean to her. I'm laughing, but at the same time, I'm like, Jesus. This last point there is no truth in it whatsoever at all. It's all blatant lies. Winifred loves Mary and Sarah.
Could explain why Sarah drifted towards men so she could get the affection she didn't get as a child, but I digress. Sarah was degraded to the lowest position
Sarah
in the
has
family
daddy
because
issues.
I believe Winifred was jealous of her power, jealous that those powers were not hers, and she had to do something to keep Sarah from getting too strong. So why should Sarah believe that she had such great powers if her sisters led her to believe that she was useless? Why look for the untapped potential when you're sitting fairly pretty, considering if you tried to step up, it generally leads to abuse? Sarah Sanderson was far more powerful than we were led to believe, and she could have been so much more than she was if she had just found a little bit of courage to step up and tell Winifred that she wanted to learn magic.
And may I direct you to my favorite clip from any Hocus Pocus movie ever to ever exist.
Stop that! Stop dancing around, you fool! Get them! Get them! Ooh. I beg your pardon?
I am not a fool. I am a good and loyal sister, and I expect to be seen as such!
We got that moment. She did step up. She did show some backbone. She did say, I am not a fool. She did get on her case, and I honestly think Winnie respected it, even though she told her to shut up and get going. Again, I think that was because, we're on a time crunch, we can fight later! So, like, she did have her moment. God, the glow up is amazing.
Sanderson is the strongest Sanderson sister, despite Winifred being the leader and Mary being the right-hand witch. I mean, you have to be sitting pretty comfortably in your position to ask the devil to dance with you, even though he wasn't really the devil, but you get the gist of it. If Sarah had wanted to, if she had ever gotten the idea in her head, she could have manipulated her sisters into doing whatever she wanted done. So there you have it. Sarah Sanderson is the strongest of the Sanderson sisters. You just have to dive beneath the surface to find out why.
Here's the thing. I still kind of agree with this theory as a whole. I do think Sarah could be the most powerful of the trio if she kept her backbone. Not necessarily if she was allowed to learn more magic. It's very clear that she learned as much as the other two did. That's very, very, very clear after the second movie. So a lot of my points from this old 8-year-old video are null and void because 2 finally came out. So that's a thing that is for certain at this point is she did learn, she did have the opportunities that the other two did. Mother trained her just as much. So, yes. I still do think her powers are a little bit more impressive when it comes to the execution and what it can do, as opposed to Winifred's zippy zappy Sith lightning and Mary being a bloodhound. Oh god, my girl got screwed. My girl got screwed. At least give her it. At least in the third one, give her some shape-shifting powers. Let her turn into a big, fierce, scary dog. Give her something. Literally throw her a bone, will ya? She needs help. She needs something. So, I don't disagree with this theory as a whole. I do think Sarah could have the potential to be the most powerful of the Sanderson sisters. She just has to get a little bit more confidence in herself than she had before. Thump your chest a little, Sarah. Get it up there. Step up and do your job, and I think you could technically outrank Winifred, but Sarah wouldn't want to outrank Winifred because she loves and respects her big sister.
Thank you guys so much for watching my first fan theory video. It was a lot of work, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And stay tuned for a lot of my upcoming projects. If you liked the video, please drop a like and subscribe to my channel for more of my upcoming videos and the ones I already have up. This video is kicking off my new series of discussion videos over various fandoms. That's going to include more fan theories, top 5s, top 10s, sometimes maybe top 20s depending on what the subject is, and just all around general discussion or reaction episodes. I can't be certain how often I will be able to post these videos, as I have school, work, and many other obligations I have to attend to, but I will try to keep them coming at a fair pace. So what are your thoughts on this theory? Something you liked? Something you want to dispute? Leave a comment down below. Again, trolls, if you're gonna be butthurt, take it elsewhere. Have a marvelous Halloween, everybody. Stay safe, and remember, it's just a bunch of hocus pocus.
Wow. Yep, so that was a blast from the past. Oh god, looking back on it, I'm like, I made some good points. But now that we have two, they just don't work anymore. They don't work anymore. Sarah, yes, still has the potential to be the strongest of the sisters given her powers. But she doesn't want to. She's comfortable. She's fine. She doesn't need to. She doesn't have the need for it, which I think is good for her. She's happy where she's at, and you know what? Sometimes contentment is where you need to be. So, good for her being the way she is, but I do think, yes, technically she is still the strongest out of the three of them, because as soon as she got her power, she was like, oh, I'm powerful now. And I think if she'd gotten to hold on to that a little bit longer, we probably would have seen a little bit more siren song action coming out of her. But as a whole, oof. That old theory of mine, man, that ain't it. That ain't it no more. Too many things have changed. Too many things have changed. Hocus Pocus 2 has come out. We have learned so much more about the Sanderson sisters. And my last thought on this is, oh my god, past Casey, what did Winifred ever do to you? She did not deserve to be ran over by that bus. You threw her under every single chance you got. Holy crap, it's like, ran over, backed up, ran over again, backed up again, and ran over her one more time. I was just like, Jesus. That was, wow. So, there you go. A lot's changed in 8 years. Because that actually was what kicked off. Oh, so this is going to be my brand. You guys want me to talk about Hocus Pocus. So, you can thank that video for where we're at now. Oh my gosh, now I'm posting like once a week and I'm streaming 2 nights a week. What has happened in the last 8 years? That's crazy. But as I was saying at the end of that video, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this Blast from the Past video, which I enjoyed doing, if I have to say anything about it, that was fun. I liked going back and debunking my old theory and being like, well, this is right, but no, honey, no. So, if you want to see more of that, let me know. Leave a comment in the comment section down below if you want to see me do this with some of my older videos and be like, yeah, do you still agree with this one? Or would you change anything? Like some of the stuff from the past several years that I've been doing this, and I didn't really start doing it full time till 2021. So there you go. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't. It's free. It helps me. What helps me helps you guys get more great content like this. It's a double upload week. You know why? Because it's Hocus Pocus Anniversary Week! So, on Wednesday, Hocus Pocus turns 32, so we will be, dropping another video, and by we, I mean me, myself, and editing Casey. She's already like, cool, double upload! I'll be dropping the top 10 greatest moments from the original Hocus Pocus movie. I'll be counting those down, talking about why I think these 10 moments are the best of the movie. And we're just going to celebrate our love for Hocus Pocus on Wednesday. And a little something that I'm planning on doing, if I can sit down and do it this week. It's tentative, so I'll get to it in a second. But Thursday night, we're going to be back over on the Twitch channel playing more 4th place Tamarin. Oh no. I'm in purgatory over there, so if you guys want to come see me slip slowly into madness over the course of 2 hours, please come join me as I try to ace this level over and over and over again. That'll take place at 7:45 Central Standard Time, 8:45 Eastern Time, on the Twitch channel, and it will be fun. For you. It'll be fun for you. For me, it's just gonna drive me to insanity, and I'm gonna need medicine afterwards. I'm gonna need alcohol. And Friday night, if I can get it set up, we're gonna play Jackbox with the Coven here on the YouTube channel. We're going to play Quiplash specifically, and I'm going to make it a themed Quiplash where everything is Hocus Pocus, so we can celebrate Hocus Pocus's anniversary together. I've got to sit down and figure out how to do it. I'm hoping to do this. It's tentative for Friday, so keep an eye on the YouTube community page, on my Instagram, and if you're part of the Discord, definitely keep an eye on the Discord. But Saturday night, we'll be back here for sure, playing more Sarah Sanderson Plays Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team at 7:45 Central Standard Time, 8:45 Eastern Time. It is going so well, and we're having so much fun. If you are not watching this series, we've had 2 episodes, you need to go catch up, because it's been so much fun. Everyone's having a blast. I am doing some really crappy voice acting through all of it, so you guys can come laugh at me doing that. It's a lot of fun. So busy, but pretty heavy schedule this week. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you're regular on this channel, please remember to drop a like, share your thoughts on this redone / corrected reaction / theory video down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Casey Zogelman, aka the 4th Sanderson sister, and I'll see you witches and wizards later.
I am put a spell on you.